The alien marketplace was always full of noise. Strange voices shouted, metal doors clanged, and creatures from many worlds cried in fear. Merchants stood in long rows selling everything: weapons, rare spices, glowing crystals, and even living beings. The air smelled of smoke and dust, mixed with the sharp scent of fear. In the farthest corner of the market stood a small cage. It was old and rusted, shaped like the cages made for birds. Inside it, sitting silently, was a young alien girl. Her skin was pale, almost glowing under the weak lights above. Her eyes were large and bright, but they carried no joy. Her body was thin, weaker than the bones of a bird, and her hair fell around her face in dirty strands. She had been locked inside for years. No one cared to ask why. No one wanted to know her story. For the merchants, she was just another forgotten thing. To them, she was useless, broken, not worth the trouble. Sometimes children pointed at her and laughed. They called her the caged bird, even though she was not a bird at all. Sometimes drunk traders threw food at her cage, watching her scramble to eat as if it was entertainment, and other times, most of the time, she was ignored completely. She remembered a time when she was free, a time when she had a family. But those memories had become blurry. The longer she stayed in the cage, the more her past slipped away like smoke. Now she only remembered pain, hunger, and the feeling of cold iron pressing against her skin. Every morning, the merchants checked the cages. Some creatures were sold, some were beaten to make them look more dangerous. But her cage was never opened. Buyers asked, "What is this one worth?" And the merchants always said, "Nothing. She is cursed. She is weak. Leave her." Still she lived. Day after day, year after year, she survived. Her body was fragile, but her spirit refused to die. Deep inside, a fire still burned, small but alive. She told herself one day, "One day someone will see me. Someone will care." But the days turned into months, the months into years, and no one came. That night, as the marketplace grew quiet, she curled up in the corner of her cage. The stars were faint through the cracks in the ceiling above. She whispered to them like she always did, "Please, let me out, please. Someone—" Her voice was soft, almost lost in the night wind. Far away, footsteps echoed, heavy, confident steps. A new group had entered the market. They were different from the usual traders. Their boots clicked against the stone ground, and their voices were sharp and disciplined. They were human soldiers traveling across alien lands on patrol. The girl lifted her head. Her weak eyes followed the sound. Humans. She had seen them before from afar. Other aliens often called them reckless, weak, and foolish. But she did not know if it was true. To her, they were just another species, another set of faces passing by her cage. One soldier walked slower than the rest. He looked around with curious eyes, studying the rows of cages. His gaze was sharp, but there was something softer hidden behind it, something different. When he passed near her corner, the girl pressed her thin fingers against the bars. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Help." The soldier froze. His eyes turned toward the sound. At first, he thought it was just his imagination. But then he saw her, the fragile figure locked inside the birdcage. For a moment, the marketplace noise faded. All he could hear was the weak sound of her breathing. The girl stared at him. Her lips trembled. She did not have the strength to say more, but her eyes begged louder than words. The soldier's hand tightened into a fist. He had seen prisoners before, but something about this girl was different. She was not dangerous. She was not a beast. She was just a child broken by years of cruelty. Behind him, one of the merchants laughed. "Don't look at her, human. That one is worthless. She is cursed. Locked for years. Better you forget her." But the soldier did not move. His heart felt heavy. Something inside him refused to walk away. The girl lowered her head, thinking he would ignore her like everyone else. But before she closed her eyes, she saw it. A flicker of defiance in the human's face. A look that said, "No, I will not forget you." That look was enough to spark something inside her. For the first time in years, she felt a strange warmth in her chest. It was hope. Fragile, small, but real. The cage creaked as the cold night wind blew through the market. The girl sat silently, her eyes never leaving the human soldier. She did not know his name. She did not know his story. But deep inside, she felt it. Something was about to change. Something big. And this time, she would not be ignored. The marketplace was alive with sound and color. Strange fires burned in iron bowls. Merchants shouted about their goods and alien creatures howled in cages. The smell of smoke and sweat filled the air. Yet among all this chaos, one figure moved with quiet purpose. He was a human soldier. His armor was scratched from battles, his boots dusty from long marches. His name was not spoken here, for the aliens did not care. To them, humans were only passing strangers, reckless explorers, soldiers who fought for credits, always rushing into danger without thought. Many laughed at humans, calling them fragile compared to stronger races. But this soldier was different. His eyes were sharp, searching, always noticing what others ignored. While his companions bargained for weapons and food, he walked further into the market, letting his instincts guide him. The noise seemed to fade when he reached the dark corner. There, in the shadow of broken lamps, he saw it, the rusted parrot cage. Inside, a girl sat curled up like a fragile shadow. Her thin fingers clutched the iron bars, her eyes wide but lifeless, as if hope had been stolen long ago. The soldier stopped. For a moment, he simply stared. He had seen prisoners before. He had seen broken men after war. But something about this girl cut deeper than a blade. She was alive, yet barely. Breathing, but not living. The girl lifted her head. Her lips parted and a faint whisper escaped. Help! It was not loud. It was not strong. Yet it reached him like thunder. Before he could speak, a heavy voice laughed behind him. One of the merchants stepped forward, his long arms decorated with glowing tattoos. His sharp teeth glistened in the firelight. That one? Worthless. She has been in that cage for years. No one buys her. No one wants her. She is weak, cursed. The soldier frowned. Why keep her then? Entertainment, the merchant said with a grin. Some like to laugh at her misery. She eats scraps. She shivers in the cold, but she does not die. That is the only thing interesting about her. She survives. The soldier's jaw tightened. He turned his gaze back to the girl. Her eyes met his, wide and trembling, but behind the fear was something else. A spark, a small flickering flame refusing to die. He knelt near the cage. The iron smelled of rust. How long has she been here? He asked softly, almost to himself. Too long, the merchant answered. She should have died years ago. But she clings to life like a sick bird. Maybe that is her curse. The soldier's hand brushed the cage bars. The girl's fingers stretched toward his, trembling, as if reaching for the first warm touch she had felt in years. He did not pull away. Their fingers did not meet, but in that tiny space between them, a silent promise formed. The merchant snorted. You humans are strange. Always caring for the weak. Always wasting energy. Do not waste your pity here, soldier. Walk away. But the soldier did not move. He saw what the merchant could not. He saw strength in the girl's survival, courage in her eyes. She was not weak. She was a fighter. Behind him, his fellow soldiers called out, Hurry up! We have no time to waste in this filthy market. Still, he remained. His voice was calm but firm. What if I want her? The merchant blinked, then laughed, a harsh sound. You take her? She is not a prize. She is trouble. No food, no use, no value. If you touch her, her curse will follow you. Better to leave her here. Forget her. But the soldier shook his head. I do not believe in curses. The merchant narrowed his eyes. Then you are a fool, human. Touch the cage and you bring death on yourself. The soldier stood slowly, his eyes never leaving the girl. She pressed her forehead against the bars, silent tears sliding down her face. For the first time in years, she felt something. Fear, yes, but also hope. He turned toward the merchant. Open it. The crowd nearby grew quiet. Other traders watched with interest. Some laughed, others whispered. No one had dared to speak those words before. The cage had become part of the marketplace, a decoration of suffering. And now a human wanted to break that chain. The merchant crossed his arms. You do not know what you are asking. The soldier's voice grew hard. I know exactly what I am asking. Open it. For a long moment, silence filled the air. Then the merchant shook his head and walked away, muttering, Foolish human. You will regret this. The soldier remained by the cage. He bent down again, close to the girl. I don't know who you are, he whispered, but you don't belong here. You don't deserve this. Her lips trembled, but no sound came. Still, her eyes said everything. He reached for the lock. His fingers hovered over it. He knew the risk. He knew this act could turn the entire market against him. But his heart would not let him leave. For the first time in her life, the girl believed. This human would not walk away. The marketplace lights flickered. The air grew tense as if holding its breath. The soldier whispered, "I'll get you out." And with those words, the story of the caged girl began to change forever. The soldier's hand rested on the cold lock of the cage. Around him, the alien market buzzed with life, but in his mind there was only silence. He could feel the girl's weak breath, could see her trembling hands pressed against the bars, and he knew this was no ordinary choice. If he opened the cage, he would be breaking every rule of this place. The merchant's voice rang out again, sharp and mocking. "Walk away, human. You will only bring trouble. That girl is not your problem." The soldier turned his head slowly, his eyes calm but hard. "Maybe not. But leaving her here would make her my shame." The merchant spat on the ground. "Weak words from a weak species. Humans never understand power. You risk your life for nothing." The soldier ignored him. His heart pounded, but his resolve grew stronger. He had seen too much suffering in his life. Too many innocent faces lost to war, greed, and cruelty. He had promised himself long ago that if he could save even one life, he would not hesitate. The girl's wide eyes followed his every move. She could hardly believe it. For years, faces had passed by, cold, empty, cruel. But this one did not turn away. He was different. The soldier gripped the lock. It was old, rusted, but still firm. He pulled a small tool from his belt, a device used for field repairs. His fellow soldiers, busy bargaining at the other stalls, had not noticed what he was doing. The marketplace crowd, however, began to gather. Whispers spread quickly. "He is opening it. Humans are mad. They don't fear curses. Fool. He will bring the guards." The soldier worked quickly, but his hands were steady. His eyes never left the girl's. "Hold on," he whispered. "Just a moment longer." The merchant stepped forward, panic flashing in his eyes. "Stop, you do not understand. She is dangerous." The soldier raised his head. "Dangerous? Look at her. She is starving. She can barely stand. The only dangerous thing here is the cruelty that put her in this cage." The lock gave a loud click. The sound rang like thunder through the marketplace. The girl gasped. The crowd fell silent. The cage door, stiff from years of rust, creaked open by just an inch. The merchant roared. "You fool. Do you know what you've done? Guards!" At once, armored figures moved from the shadows, alien enforcers with heavy weapons. Their eyes glowed red under their helmets as they marched toward the human. The soldier stood, his body shielding the girl. "Stay behind me," he whispered. His hand reached for his weapon, but his grip on it was uncertain. He had not come here for a fight. Yet now the fight was coming to him. The girl, weak as she was, clutched the bars for support. Her heart raced. She wanted to cry out, to beg him to run, but no words came. For the first time in years, someone was willing to stand for her. She could not bear the thought of him falling because of her. The crowd grew louder, chanting, shouting, some cheering, others cursing. The marketplace had turned into an arena. All eyes were on the lone human soldier and the fragile girl he dared to free. The enforcers raised their weapons. The merchant pointed at the soldier, his face twisted with rage. "Arrest him. Kill him if you must. He defies the law of this market." The soldier's voice rang out strong and clear. "Then your law is broken. No law should keep a child in a cage." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Even among the aliens, some lowered their eyes in shame. The enforcers hesitated for just a breath, but the merchant barked louder. "Do it now!" The first enforcer stepped forward. His weapon glowed, energy charging. The soldier's heart raced, but his stance was firm. He had made his choice. He could walk away and save himself, or he could stand his ground and prove that humans were not weak. He tightened his grip on his weapon. His voice dropped low, a promise to the girl behind him. "You're not going back in that cage. Not while I stand." The girl's lips trembled. For years she had prayed in silence for someone to hear her, and now here he was, a human, a stranger, yet more real than any dream. The cage door swung wider, creaking as it opened fully. The girl stumbled forward, her knees weak, but the soldier caught her before she fell. His arms were steady, warm against her cold skin. The marketplace erupted into chaos. Some screamed, some cheered, some ran to fetch more guards. But in the center of it all, the soldier lifted the girl gently into his arms. The merchant's face turned pale with fury. "You will die for this, human." The soldier looked at him, eyes burning with defiance. "Maybe, but at least I won't live as a coward." With that, he turned and began to move. The guards closed in, their weapons flashing with deadly light. The soldier knew the next few moments would decide everything: his life, the girl's freedom, and perhaps more than he could yet imagine. But he did not falter. His steps were steady, his resolve unshaken. The girl, half conscious in his arms, whispered one broken word. "Why?" He glanced down at her, his voice quiet but firm. "Because no one deserves to live in a cage." The crowd's roar echoed through the marketplace. The human soldier had chosen his path, and there was no turning back. The marketplace was no longer a place of trade. It had become a storm. The moment the cage opened, the crowd erupted into chaos. Merchants shouted, customers screamed, and guards pushed through the sea of people. The human soldier carried the alien girl in his arms. She was light as air, her body weak from years of captivity. Every step he took felt heavier, not because of her weight, but because of the dozens of eyes fixed on them. Some filled with rage, some with disbelief, and a few with admiration. The merchant roared from behind, his voice cutting through the noise. "Stop him! That human steals my property." The word property stabbed like a knife. The soldier's jaw tightened. He looked down at the girl, her fragile face pressed against his chest, her eyes half closed but still shining with a fragile spark of life. She was not property. She was not an object. She was someone who had been denied her freedom for too long. The first enforcer blocked his path. A towering alien in black armor, weapon raised. "Put her down," the enforcer growled. The soldier's grip tightened around the girl. His free hand reached for his sidearm. His voice was steady, unshaken. "Move, I don't want to fight you," the enforcer sneered. "You are one human. We are many. You will not leave alive." The soldier raised his weapon, eyes hard. "Then you'll have to try and stop me." The standoff lasted only a heartbeat. Then the enforcer lunged, the soldier fired. A burst of light cracked through the smoky air. The enforcer stumbled back, armor sparking, but more guards rushed forward. The crowd screamed, scattering in every direction. Stalls collapsed as creatures ran loose, and the once busy market became a battlefield. The soldier moved quickly, weaving through narrow passages, his every step a battle against the press of bodies and the chase of armored feet. The girl clung weakly to his chest, too frail to move, but her eyes stayed on him, wide with fear and something new: trust. "Hold on," he whispered to her, his voice rough with breath. "I'll get you out. I swear it." Behind him, energy blasts tore through the air. Sparks flew as beams struck walls and shattered glass. The marketplace roared with fury. The merchant screamed commands, his face twisted in rage. "Do not let him escape. That human dies here." The soldier ducked into a side street, his boots pounding against stone. He knew he couldn't fight them all. Not here, not with her in his arms. He had to outsmart them. He spotted a cluster of crates stacked high, blocking a narrow alley. With one powerful kick, he toppled them down, sending barrels and debris crashing into the path of the pursuing guards. Shouts rang out as they stumbled, buying him precious seconds. But seconds were all he had. The girl's weak voice broke through the chaos. Why are you doing this?" Her words almost broke him. He looked down, meeting her fragile gaze. In the middle of the fire and fear, he allowed a small smile. "Because you deserve to see the sky again." Tears filled her eyes. No one had spoken to her like that in years. No one had cared if she lived or died. But this human, this stranger, risked everything for her. They reached the edge of the market. A wide gate loomed ahead, guarded by two massive aliens with spears of crackling energy. The soldier slowed, heart pounding. The girl stirred weakly, whispering, You can't. They'll kill you." "Not if I move first," he said, voice low. The guards braced as he approached. "Halt!" one barked. The soldier sprinted. With the speed of desperation, he slid low, firing as he moved. Energy crackled as one guard fell back, wounded. The other swung his spear, but the soldier twisted aside, the weapon grazing his armor. Pain flared, but he didn't stop. With one final strike, he slammed his boot into the guard's chest, knocking him aside. The gate was open. He ran through. The girl clutched tight, her eyes wide with shock. The open night stretched before them, stars scattered across the sky. For the first time in years, she saw them without iron bars between her and their light. But freedom came at a price. The marketplace behind them boiled with rage. Bells rang out, alarms screamed, and more guards poured into the streets. The merchant's furious voice carried into the night. "Find them! Tear the human apart! Bring her back to me!" The soldier ran into the shadows of the city, heart racing, lungs burning. He knew this was only the beginning. Saving her from the cage was one step. Keeping her free would cost him everything. The girl, weak but awake, pressed her face into his chest. Her voice was a faint whisper, but every word carried the weight of her soul. "You're different. You're not weak." The soldier looked down at her, his eyes burning with determination. "No," he said softly. "Humans are not weak, and neither are you." The stars above seemed brighter, as if the universe itself was watching. The cage was behind her now, but the price of freedom had only just begun. The night air was cold, but to the girl it felt like fire. After years inside a cage, every breath of freedom burned her lungs with life. She leaned against the human soldier's chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. For so long she had listened only to silence and the rattling of iron bars. Now she heard something strong, alive, and real. The soldier moved through the shadows of the city, staying low, his eyes sharp. Behind them the sound of alarms echoed. The market would not stop hunting them. He knew the risk. By freeing her, he had declared war against powerful forces. Yet he did not regret it. He found an abandoned building at the edge of the city, dark, broken, forgotten. He carried her inside and laid her gently on a blanket of dust and torn fabric. She shivered but did not complain. Her body was too weak, but her eyes never left him. "You're safe here for now," he whispered, scanning the door. Her lips parted. Her voice was hoarse, cracked from years of silence. "Why, safe? Me?" He knelt beside her. For a moment he did not answer. How could he explain? He barely knew himself. Finally he said, "Because someone should have long ago, and if no one else would, then it had to be me." Her eyes filled with tears. She turned her face away, ashamed. Weak." The soldier shook his head. "No, you survived. That's not weakness. That's strength." She blinked at him, confused. For years, every voice she had heard called her cursed, useless, fragile. This human spoke the opposite. His words lit something inside her chest, something she had almost forgotten. Pride. He pulled a ration pack from his belt and offered it to her. The smell of real food made her tremble. She hesitated, her thin hands shaking. She had been fed scraps, spoiled fruit, and dirty water for years. But now before her was warm bread and dried meat. "Eat," he said softly. Slowly, carefully, she took it. The first bite made her close her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. She ate in silence, every mouthful filling the empty hole inside her. The soldier watched quietly, guarding the door as if every shadow might strike. When she finished, she looked at him again. "Name?" she asked. He gave a small smile. "Ethan." She repeated it softly, her tongue clumsy but curious. "Then," he nodded. "And you?" Her eyes lowered. For a moment she did not speak. Then in a whisper she said, "Lyra." "Lyra," he repeated, the sound gentle. "That's a strong name." She shook her head. "No strong cage?" "Made me nothing." Ethan leaned closer, his voice firm. "A cage doesn't define who you are. You're more than what they tried to make you." Lyra stared at him, her heart pounding with strange warmth. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever seen her as more than a prisoner. The silence stretched between them, heavy but not empty. A bond was forming, fragile but powerful, like a thread pulling their lives together. Outside, heavy footsteps echoed faintly in the distance. Ethan's eyes narrowed. The guards were still searching. They would not give up easily. He had to keep moving. "We can't stay here long," he said. "They'll find us if we do." Lyra's hands trembled. "They take me back?" His jaw tightened. "Not while I live," her breath caught. She studied his face, his hard eyes, the scar across his cheek. He looked dangerous, but not to her. To her, he was a wall against the darkness. "Why, you risk?" she asked again, her voice almost breaking. Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Memories flickered in his mind, his past battles, the innocent faces he could not save, the times he had failed. Finally, he said, "Because too many times I watched others suffer and I did nothing. Not this time. Not you." Her throat tightened. She wanted to speak, to tell him something, but the words would not form. Instead, she reached out with trembling fingers and touched his hand. It was a small gesture, but for her, it was everything. Ethan froze for a second, then gently wrapped his hand around hers. His grip was steady, warm. For Lyra, it felt like chains breaking. In that moment, the bond was sealed. Not just savior and saved, but something deeper. A connection that neither could fully understand but both could feel. The night stretched on. They sat together in the ruined building, silent but not alone. Outside, the city hunted them, but inside, for the first time, Lyra felt safe. Before her eyes closed from exhaustion, she whispered, "Ethan." "Thank you." He looked down at her, his face softened by the faint glow of starlight through the broken roof. "Rest. Tomorrow we'll find a way out of this city. I promise." Her eyes closed, her breath slow and calm. She drifted into the first peaceful sleep she had known in years. Ethan sat awake, his weapon resting across his knees, watching the shadows. He knew danger was coming, but he also knew something else. He would not let anyone put Lyra back in a cage, not while he breathed. The morning sun rose slowly over the alien city. Its red light spilled across broken walls and empty streets. Inside the ruined building, Ethan kept watch with tired eyes. He had not slept. Every shadow outside felt like a threat, every sound like a step closer to discovery. Beside him, Lyra slept quietly on a makeshift bed of cloth. Her breathing was soft, steady. For the first time since he had found her, she did not look afraid. Yet even in sleep, her hands twitched as if the memory of the cage still haunted her dreams. Ethan's gaze softened. He wondered what kind of life she had before, who she was before the cage stole her years. But he did not ask, not yet. He would wait until she was ready to speak. When the city outside grew louder with morning trade, Lyra stirred awake. Her eyes blinked in the sunlight that fell through cracks in the roof. She sat up slowly, her movements weak but determined. Ethan handed her a small piece of bread from his ration pack. "Eat, you need strength." She nodded, accepting it carefully. After a few bites, her voice came quiet but clear. "Ethan, I must tell you." "Something?" He leaned closer, listening. Her hands trembled. She stared at the floor. "I'm not just a girl." "Not only prisoner," Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath, her eyes shining with both fear and courage. "My name, full name, Lyra Vera, daughter of House Vera." Ethan's heart skipped. He had heard that name before, whispered among soldiers, spoken in rumors. Vera was not just a family. It was a royal bloodline, rulers of an ancient alien house that once held power across many systems. But they had vanished years ago, crushed by enemies who feared them. Ethan hesitated. "Your nobility?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, my family, hunted. Enemies wanted our name erased. I was taken as child, hidden away. They locked me in cage, so no one would ever remember me." Her voice cracked. "Years passed. I thought all gone. I thought I was nothing." Ethan's chest tightened. He understood now. This was more than cruelty. This was erasure. They hadn't only imprisoned her body. They had tried to erase her identity, her history, her future. "That's why they feared you," Ethan said, his voice low. "Not because you were weak, but because of who you are." Her eyes glistened with tears. "But I am weak. I could not fight them. I could not escape. I only survived." Ethan reached out, gripping her hand firmly. "Survival is not weakness. They tried to destroy you, and you're still here. That makes you stronger than they ever were." Lyra stared at him, searching his face. No one had ever told her that before. No one had ever given her the right to believe she was more than broken. But Ethan's eyes were steady, unshaken. He believed every word. Outside, a loud horn echoed. Both of them froze. From the window, Ethan saw armored patrols moving through the streets, scanning every corner. Their search was tightening. "They're coming," Ethan muttered. Fear crossed Lyra's face. "They want me back. If they find me, they kill you." Ethan shook his head. "They'll have to go through me first." Lyra clutched his arm, her voice breaking. "No, you don't understand. If they find me, it won't just be you. They will hunt all humans who helped you. They will start war." Her words hit him like stone. He realized then the weight of his choice. By freeing her, he hadn't just saved a girl, he had lit a fuse that could ignite across worlds. Ethan drew in a slow breath. "Then we'll have to make sure they don't find you." She looked at him with wide eyes. "You would carry this burden? For me?" He gave a small, tired smile. "I already did the moment I opened that cage." Silence hung between them, heavy with truth. For the first time, Lyra's eyes filled not only with fear but with determination. She straightened her thin shoulders, weak but proud. "I am last of my house," she whispered. If I fall, my people's name dies forever. But if I live, maybe one day, it can rise again. Ethan nodded. Then you will live. I'll see to it. Her lips trembled. A strange warmth spread in her chest. For years she had been told she was worthless. Now, sitting in this broken building with a human soldier at her side, she began to believe otherwise. Outside, the horn sounded again, closer this time. Shadows moved across the walls as patrols approached. Ethan stood, his weapon ready. Stay close to me. Whatever happens, don't let go of my hand. She rose slowly, her legs weak but steady. When her small fingers slipped into his, she felt a strength flow through her. For the first time, she was not facing the darkness alone. The truth had been revealed. Lyra was not just a caged girl. She was a princess in exile, hunted, erased, but alive. And Ethan, a human soldier mocked by many as weak, had just become the shield between her and the galaxy that wanted her destroyed. As the footsteps of the patrol grew louder, Ethan whispered only one word to her. Ready? Lyra lifted her chin, her voice soft but unbroken. Yes. Together, they stepped into the light of danger, the bond between them stronger than fear. The streets shook with the heavy march of alien patrols. Their armored boots struck the stone ground like drums of war. The horns continued to blare, echoing through every corner of the city. Ethan stood at the doorway of the ruined building, weapon raised. His body was tense, his jaw locked, but his eyes burned with determination. Behind him, Lyra clutched his arm, her thin frame trembling but her spirit awake. Stay behind me, he said firmly. I will not go back, she whispered, voice shaking but sure, even if it means death. Ethan looked at her, his chest tight with pride. Then we'll face this together. The first squad appeared, their glowing weapons aimed forward. The leader, a tall alien with sharp silver armor, raised his hand. His voice cut through the air like a blade. Human, surrender the girl. She belongs to us. She belongs to no one, Ethan answered, his voice strong. Not anymore, the alien sneered. Do not be foolish. You are one. We are many. Put down your weapon and maybe we let you live. Ethan took a step forward, shielding Lyra with his body. If you want her, you'll have to come through me. The soldiers in the street laughed coldly. To them it was madness, one human against an entire squad. But Ethan did not flinch. Lyra's heart raced. She had never seen anyone stand like this for her, not even her own people. Her chest burned with something she couldn't name, something beyond fear, beyond gratitude. It was hope. The leader motioned with his hand. Very well, kill him. Bring the girl back alive. The first shot rang out. Ethan ducked, returning fire. The street lit up with flashes of blue and red energy. He moved quickly, using the broken walls as cover. Every strike calculated. Years of battle training flowed through him, his body moving on instinct. But it was not just training that drove him now. It was purpose. Lyra pressed herself against the wall, her hands shaking as the blast rattled the air. She wanted to scream, to cry, but she held her silence. Ethan had told her to trust him, and she did. The fight raged. One alien soldier fell. Another stumbled back with sparks flying from his armor. Yet more replaced them, their numbers endless. Ethan's breaths grew heavier, his arm aching, but he stood tall, refusing to retreat. You're insane, human, one of the aliens shouted. Why throw your life away for her? Ethan fired back, his voice like thunder. Because she deserves to live free. And someone has to stand for what's right. The words carried through the street, reaching even those who only watched from the shadows. Alien merchants, civilians, even slaves hidden in cages, all of them felt the power in his defiance. Lyra's eyes widened. In that moment, she saw it clearly. This was not just about her anymore. Ethan was proving something greater, that humans were not weak, not fragile, not cowards. The leader charged forward, his massive blade glowing with energy. Ethan blocked the strike with his weapon, the force nearly knocking him back. Sparks flew as they clashed in the center of the street. Lyra cried out, Ethan! He pushed back with every ounce of strength. His muscles screamed, but he held firm. Run, Lyra! He shouted, but she did not move. Instead, she stumbled forward, her voice shaking but filled with courage. No, I will not leave you. Not after you freed me. We face this together. Her words gave him strength. With a roar, Ethan twisted, knocking the leader off balance. He struck hard, sending the armored figure crashing to the ground. The street fell silent. The patrol hesitated, their leader defeated, their weapons still raised but their will shaken. Ethan stood tall, chest heaving, weapon aimed steady. "Go ahead," he shouted to the rest. "Come for her. But know this, humans do not break. We do not run. And we do not bow to tyrants." The soldiers shifted uneasily. The crowd watching from the alleys whispered. For years, humans had been called reckless, weak, fragile. But here stood one who proved them wrong. Lyra stepped forward, standing beside Ethan. Her thin body shook, but her chin lifted proudly. Her voice, though soft, carried across the street. "He is right. I am Lyra Vera, last of my house. You tried to erase me, but I still live, and with him I will rise again." Gasps rippled through the onlookers. The name Vera had not been spoken in years. To hear it now, alive, burning with defiance, was like a spark in dry grass. The alien patrol faltered. Some lowered their weapons, uncertain. Others glared, but their hands shook. Ethan's voice thundered once more. "Remember this night. Remember the human who stood against your chains. And remember that she is no longer yours to cage." The silence stretched. Then, slowly, the patrol began to retreat, dragging their wounded leader away. They did not admit defeat, but they did not dare press forward. Not against the fire they had seen in Ethan and Lyra. When the last soldier vanished into the shadows, Ethan lowered his weapon, his breath ragged. His body ached, but he stood tall. Lyra turned to him, tears shining in her eyes. You faced them all. For me." He smiled faintly, exhaustion heavy in his voice. "Not just for you. For what's right." She reached for his hand, gripping it tightly. Her voice trembled, but her heart was strong. "Then let me promise this, Ethan. I will never forget. I will carry your courage with me always." The stars shone brightly above them, as if the universe itself bore witness. In that moment, the caged girl was no longer a prisoner. She was a survivor, a princess, a flame reborn. And the human who freed her had become more than a soldier. He had become a symbol. The story of Ethan and Lyra was only beginning, but the galaxy would never forget the night a single human's defiance shook the darkness.